Well, good morning. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Paul. I really, really appreciate it. I have to get it right out. I don't watch a lot of automotive YouTubers, but when I found your channel, I absolutely got sucked in. I love your videos. I think you present them really, really well, and I think they're just a joy to watch. So, for those of you who don't know, this is Paul Shinn. He runs an automotive YouTube channel circling around Model A's. As you guys know, I have my own Model A, which is super exciting. So we're going to talk old Model A's today. So, Paul, thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you so much, Zach. It is such a pleasure to be with you.
Well, so how did you get your start in Model A's? You know, there's a lot of cars to get into. What made you settle on the Ford Model A?
Oh, man. It's kind of funny. It fell into it, really. You know, I'd always kind of had a love for old cars anyway, growing up and things. And to me, when I thought old car, I thought Model T. You know, that's just kind of what I thought. Horseless carriage type stuff. And that's, in my mind, was old car. And so fast forward a little bit, and I actually, my dream car was to have a 69 Dodge Charger made up like the Dukes of Hazzard. That was my big dream.
That is like the car.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was like my dream. Anyway, so I had kind of worked out a deal. I had one lined up. I had one that had been sitting in storage for many years. And, you know, it was like a perfect starting point for that. And so I had acquired the car, and I was acquiring parts and realizing how expensive parts, like a bumper for that thing's like, you know, $1,200. And I thought, oh man, this hurts. So it's going to take me forever to get this done. But then, you know, things happen, life happens, and something happened with my wife medically. We needed money, and the car was gone. I thought, forget it. I'm never going to do that anyway. Why would I?
Yeah.
But then I met the guy who I now call Dad. And he's not my biological dad, but in every other sense, as far as like teaching me how to be a man, that kind of stuff, he's Dad. I met him, and he's into all the same stuff I'm into, you know, from, you know, all the other hobbies I'm into. And plus, you know, he'd been restoring Model A since the 50s. So imagine he started restoring Model A's in the 50s. That would be like today, you and I getting like a 90s Taurus and getting all into it, you know. Wow, this is the greatest. Yeah. So I met this guy. And he's a man's man, you know, fought World War II. I mean, the guy, you know, he's about ready to turn 91 now as we speak, and he's still going strong. He's in his shop every day working on Model A's. So he was really inspiring. And I think I'd mentioned to you one time in a video or something, I have a touch of autism. Mm-hmm. And with Asperger's syndrome, one of the things, it's interesting because you tend to obsess over things once in a while, and you have no control over what you obsess over.
Right.
But suddenly, I just had this obsession about Model A's. I binged, like, you know, I spent 3 days solid without sleeping, just absorbing every bit of information I could about Model A's, everything I could find. And I'll go all through his stuff and all the factory blueprints and everything I could find. I had to know everything about this car. And then I took a nap. I woke up and I decided on day 4, I'm going to get one. And I'm going to restore it. So that's kind of what happened. So after having binged on every bit of information I could find about the cars, I felt, okay, I've got a little bit of knowledge. Let's go into this. Of course, I really still didn't know anything compared to the old guys who've been doing this forever. And so Bob was just like this huge, tremendous help, kind of scratching the itch, if you will, for this obsession I had of these cars. And then I restored I bought an almost basket cased 31 two-door sedan. And through help of tremendous people who were, I don't know why they were so helpful. I didn't deserve it, but they were really helpful to me getting started. And I acquired all the new old stock parts I could find. I decided I was going to restore a car with no reproduction parts, all original parts. So I restored this car, and when I'm all done, and I thought, hey, I'll have this thing judged, man. So I did, and it did really well in blue ribbon judging. And then fast forward a little more, and my wife was hit head on by a drunk driver coming home from school one day. And so that car was totaled. That was the family car. And my wife thankfully was okay. I mean, that car, it was a early Chrysler PT Cruiser. It saved her life. That car turned into it looked like a balled up ball of tinfoil.
Yeah.
But she, no broken bones, but it did, banged her head pretty good. And she lost a few IQ points, but I still had her. She's still with me. I was like,
right.
Thank God. So all of a sudden we have no family car. So the two-door sedan became the family car. So it was no longer a toy.
Awesome.
Yeah, but now it's like it's not a toy anymore. Now it's the car. If we're going to go somewhere, we get in the car.
Right.
And so I developed an even deeper respect for the car because I realized this isn't just a toy. I mean, this is a useful automobile. It actually has purpose. And so ever since then, I couldn't put it down. And that's what happened. There's the long story.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome. And I've had a similar experience of like, I've really started to drive our Model 8 last summer, with quarantine and everything, there wasn't really much to do. So I would take the Model A out all the time, to get ice cream, to get food, to the store. I remember I sold some old toys of mine on Craigslist, and I pulled up in the Model A, and the guy wasn't even concerned with what he was buying anymore. He was just so enamored by the Model A. It was great. So I've grown to really respect the vehicle as well. So going off of that, you have this love of Model A's, this obsession. What led you to start posting on YouTube? Because I think what you're doing for the Model A community is just insane, because there's not a lot of web help online. You Google something and there's not a lot of answers because those who are into Model A's are kind of an older generation.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. And I'm sure you did too. And that's what's really neat. So actually you were kind of inspirational as well in the YouTube thing. I had seen one of your videos on rotary, because for whatever reason, I was kind of thinking, how cool would it be to have like a rotary Mazda pickup truck,
Oh, and they're the best, by the way. If you ever have a chance, please get one.
Yes?
Oh, yes? They're great. I drove one last October, and it's the best.
Well, based on that, heck yeah, now I have to.
Yeah, I can definitely help you source one. The Pacific Northwest is full of those things.
That's awesome. We're not quite sidestepping the question slightly, but there's a group of really popular YouTubers in the Wichita, Kansas area.
Okay.
There's like, Hoovie's Garage and, Elliot Alvis and Watch GR Go and the Car Wizard, Car Ninja, all these guys like all live in the same town, and they all like help each other like crazy. Right. And they have that tremendous support bubble that they live in. They don't even know how good they have it. Those guys. Yeah.
No, I get that.
If they need something, they just put the word out and then they have it, But you and I, we have to, put our feelers out all over the place and go look at garbage and But yeah, so based on that, I will go look for a Mazda rotary pickup now.
Yeah, the Repus, what are they? I made a whole informational video about them. I think they're 74 to 76, but the 74s are going to be the most popular because the production kind of dwindled off after 74.
Okay.
But yeah, 13B carbureted, they're a ton of fun. I mean, and it's just fun, putting stuff in the bed of a rotary and then, hearing that sound is just, it's totally awesome.
All right. Well, that's kind of what happened though. So I ran across your channel and some other channels, and I was like, I'm getting so much information off YouTube. I couldn't believe. In fact, YouTube taught me how to weld,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So I just, for whatever reason, I looked up something for Model A's. I don't remember what it was, but it was something pretty simple. I thought, there's going to be a video on that, right? Nothing. And so I discovered that, in fact, one of the clubs not too far from me put out a DVD series of videos on different things on, how to put a top on a Model A and how to do some basic stuff. And so I got those DVDs, and nothing against this club or anything, but honestly, Zach, they were atrocious.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't see detail. I couldn't see. It looked like they had just kind of rolled a camera during a club seminar.
Yeah.
Which I've tried to make a video out of, and it sucks when you do that. I've thrown away so much good video because at a club seminar you're trying to record it, and everybody's doing their own thing and running around quick. You can't possibly focus on any one particular thing happening with the car. It's just so much going on. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking at, and I'm going, this is horrible. I think I could do better than this. And I'm not a YouTuber. Even you and I just trying to get ready for the podcast here. We're just fiddling with our technology going, how does this thing, I can't do it.
Yeah, we're rubbing our two brain cells together.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have been better off with two cans and a string. So I'm like, all right, I don't know anything about this. So I get my wife's iPhone and I start recording a video, and it was so funny. So that's really only been just over a year ago. I mean, I put up a couple of videos on stuff I did at work. I've had the YouTube channel since like the year after YouTube went online. I think I signed up in 06, I think. And I'd put up something here, something there, whatever, like Praying Cat or whatever. So I haven't really done, I mean, all the videos I'd filmed up until this point, I'd done with my Motorola flip phone, which surprisingly is a really popular thing on one of my videos. That's like 90% of the comments have to do with my Razr flip phone, which I still
I
use.
miss those things.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. The battery lasts like a whole week between charges. Yeah. The audio is fantastic, So anyway, I recorded, and of course, video on that, it looks like you recorded it with a potato. It's terrible. So I thought, well, I'm going to use the iPhone, and the video was decent. So I record this video. I have no idea how to edit it or anything. So I use the YouTube editor, which, I'm sorry, YouTube, that's horrible. You could do way better.
I haven't even touched that. It's just...
Don't. Save yourself. Don't do it. And, well, your editing is fantastic. You must use some pretty cool software because your videos are put together so well.
I use the free software that comes on all Macintosh products.
No way. You use iMovie?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what my wife taught me how to use on the iPhone machine.
Yeah.
So
it's just iMovie and Photoshop for a couple like titles and stuff, because the title system in iMovie is not great.
I noticed. Yeah.
But other than that, I've always used iMovie, and it's almost like this like sort of hidden closeted thing that I don't really tell people, but I don't really care, is that like, yeah, I've always used the free software that comes on my computer.
Well, dude, I got to tell you, you've got it nailed, because I didn't even know.
I appreciate that.
You've got it nailed. So I've tried figuring out the iMovie. You could probably teach me a million more things than I know. So I put together the first video and I posted it. And it was the one where I took my four-door sedan that I hadn't even touched in a year. Mm-hmm. And I uncovered it and started it and drove it and all that. And so that video did nothing. And then fast forward I posted that on January 1st. And then April comes along. And all of a sudden, it's like I wake up one morning and I've got like 10 million messages and, comments. And what's going on? And the video took off. I mean, out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, whatever. But in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking, Model A videos, nobody cares about this stuff. Well, comes to find out, nobody cared about all the radio stuff I was posting. They cared about the car.
Yeah.
So anyway, everything just kind of came together. And I thought, well, I'm going to post a video on how to like change the oil in a Model A, how to lube, whatever. Because our club members might be able to use this because we have a really active club in our area. And our members like do a lot of work on their own cars. And I thought, oh, this will be helpful for the club. So yeah. I do this video. I did a little better job than I did on the January 1st video. And so luckily, my wife had been giving me tips on how to use iMovie and all this. So I put together a video and it was it was okay. It wasn't great. My videos are still not great, but they pass. So
I think they're great. I think they're entertaining. I think you're really well spoken, and I think that's really all you need from a YouTube video. You have definitely captured my attention for sure.
You're way too kind. Way too kind. So the video did okay, but I got such positive feedback from club members and stuff, and they said, you should do a bunch of these. These are better than the ones, on the DVDs. These are great. You should do. And okay, fine, whatever, I'll do more. So things just kind of happened. And then I'm not good at, okay, keep in mind, I've spent my entire life working in radio. I don't know anything about video. I zilch, okay?
Right.
So one day of course, okay, now I got to bring up the name though. I got to bring up Doug DeMuro, because what happened was I had been emailing Doug over and over, because he always asks, you want to see a cool car, and people send me videos that say, hey, check this out. And it's Doug reviewing some, Lamborghini or something.
Oh, whatever. Yeah.
And so it's always says, hey, do you have a cool car? So I thought, hey, I would like to see somebody do a review like he does on Model A's, right? Mm-hmm. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
So I'm emailing him, hey, you should do it. I have Model A's, come. He'd never replied to emails. And I thought, what a stuck up jerk, you know?
Yeah.
Just reply, just say no thanks. That's all, you know, something. But I have no ego. I'm not stuck up, and I'm not impressed with other people's ego. So I take it kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's the autism speaking, but I'm not impressed with somebody's money or fame or a status or job position. None of that impresses me. I don't care. You're a human being. I'm a human being. Just send me back no thanks.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, fine. Well, he's not going to do it, then I'll do it. So I did what I thought was a car review. And this is another area where your videos were helping, because you do car reviews. And there's a lot of people online that do car reviews. Most of them suck, but yours are good. Doug's are good. Some of the other people that do car reviews, I just kind of watch, and I thought, okay, so all they're really doing is just like finding little things on the car that you might normally pass over. And then they just talk about it, and then suddenly it becomes interesting. Like when you're talking about a rotary and you're talking about redlining and you're talking about the seals and all, normally that's like ho hum, but then you start talking about it and it's like, whoa, you know, you made it kind of interesting. I didn't even thought of that. So I thought, oh, screw it. I'm just going to take some really small things on a Model A that are boring, and then I'm just going to talk about it. So that's all I did. I posted that video. Nothing really happened. And then about a month later, all of a sudden, bam, 100,000 views, bam, 120,000 views. I was like, whoa, it was just beyond, I couldn't believe it.
It's crazy,
you know?
how that stuff works. It's just like some random Tuesday. It's just, that's the day for your video now.
Yeah, I was totally blown away. And the amount of feedback I got and everything. And I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I'll actually put some effort into it. And so one thing kind of led to another. So I kind of brainstormed it with another. In fact, one of the guys in Wichita, I've been communicating with, Elliot Alvis, who is not stuck up, who is a very nice guy. And he's been actually super helpful. And he was saying, well, why don't you, you know, try this, try that, or whatever. And it's like, okay. And then boom, it works.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. You know, that's so, and it's not like I'm going for, you know, I'm not on a quest for 1 million subscribers, or I'm not, you know, on a quest for 1 million likes, or I don't care about that. And I thought, I just want to be able to help people. But if nobody's watching it, why do it? But all of a sudden people start watching it. So I thought, okay, so that kind of like fuels my desire to do more. And then taking suggestions, people say, hey, you know, I have no idea how to do a front end alignment, you know, boom. Okay. And then I do a video on it, and it's just something just triggers that. And then all of a sudden you're helping people you didn't even know. I've never met these people. And then man, you've been so helpful. Thank you. And then that just makes you want to do more.
Well, I mean, I'm Exhibit A, and please don't hang up when you hear this. I didn't know you're supposed to lube the chassis of a Model A.
Oh, come on, Zach.
I had no idea, because, you know, we got the car 2 years ago when my grandpa passed, and there's a local Model A group, but they're all kind of grouchy old guys, if I'm honest. And so they don't, like, no one really walked us through. So we just obtained this vehicle. And, you know, I have the knowledge, you know, I've done engine swaps and stuff in Mazdas, but as you and I both know, that's, you know, those are two separate sides of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've just kind of been going along, just learning as much as possible. I finally got down, you know, driving an unsynchronized transmission and getting used to manual brakes. And we actually just did our first brake adjustment right before we put it into storage. So, I mean, you're helping people across the country, which is great. And I'm sure worldwide as well.
Well, yeah, as it turns out, people in Germany now make up like almost 10% of my viewership.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm actually working on a video right now. The guy, I think it's Astro Work, I think is his username. He has a Model A. He's put a couple of videos up. He and I are doing a Across the Seas collaboration video.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like the opportunity. I'm meeting people now that I never, ever would have met otherwise.
Right.
And it's tremendous. And I didn't even know there was like a Ford Model A community out there, other than local clubs, which are, you know, Sonora A's. I'm really lucky to be in the club I'm in, because our club is so active. You know, a lot of other local clubs in our area are shrinking or dying out and folding up. But our club's growing, and the growth has been exponential. Even with COVID, we're still growing. And it's because we're so active. And I mean, okay, so we're not allowed to do things. We're not allowed to, you know, get together and hoop and holler like we used to. But it's a tremendous group of people that think of things outside the box. And it's not like they're coloring outside the lines. They're coloring in an entirely different coloring book, and we're doing things. So being able to share that local enthusiasm outside our bubble with people, even in Germany, for example, that is another thing, another benefit I never even imagined.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you meet all these people, and everybody's got all these different ideas and everything. So I'm getting to bring that back to my local club too. So they think it's great.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my local club's been really supportive of the whole YouTube thing. Now, keep in mind, most people in Model A clubs, and you know this just as well as I do, are not exactly what I would call young and enthusiastic. You have to kind of light a fire under them. And, well, we've always done it this way. Why would we change? You know, and so my club, for whatever reason, is the polar opposite. You know, even though the average age is probably 70, but not only are they flexible and want to try new things, they're enthusiastic about it.
That's great. I mean, that's what'll carry a club forever.
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, it's so amazing. Well, you know, it's funny because the average age of my YouTube channel, too, is like, I've got the 65 plus locked in. So, like, if you look at
you got a corner on that market.
Oh, dude, I've got it totally. So, like, if you look at the demographics, you know how it, you know, the average ages and it's, you know, so, you know, the 13 and under 0, you know, 13 to 17 0, you know, zeros, and then about the 24-year-old mark and on, I got a little bubble and all that. It goes up, but then all of a sudden you hit 65 plus. 50% of my viewers are 65 plus.
Wow.
And you think, well, you know, big deal. What's a big whoop on that? Well, it's nice because for me, I was born in the last 2/3 of the 1960s. So I'm right on the edge of Gen X and Boomer. Okay. And I thought, well, do I want to be an old out of touch Gen X or a young and hip Boomer? So I figured I'll be a young and hip Boomer. You know, I'm just going to embrace it. I'm just going to totally grab on and yank, you know. So that demographic that I'm talking to is the kind of people that I feel most comfortable with anyway, around the club level and things like that. So it works out great. And it's funny because I can say things in a video that I'm not meaning to be offensive, and I'm not a politically correct guy. Okay. Right. And I don't start off every video saying, oh, just disclaimer, I'm autistic and I'm going to say things. You know, I don't start. It's like, you figure it out. So I'll say something like in one of my videos, I said, now, if you're a millennial, you may not have seen this before, a window that you use a crank to roll up and down. Right. Boom. You know, instant. So I get like 50 comments of people saying, how dare you, you jerk. I'm a millennial and I know what a crank. Of course you do. It's a joke, you know? Yeah. But then I'll get like 50 people that say, man, you're so right. These kids have no idea how to roll a window down. Well, I mean, I was born in 97. We never owned a crank window car until I bought my blue RX-7 that I have right now is the first car I have with crank windows. So, nice. I mean, you're not that far off. To the point, actually, I taught my friend how to drive stick shift I had a 93 Miata this summer. And I taught my friend how to drive stick shift, and she killed it, of course. And she goes to start it, and she just held the key there, and the starter motor is just screaming. Oh, no. And I was like, stop, 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 stop. And she's like, oh, I've never owned a car with actual physical keys before that you had to turn. And I was like, oh, like I was a little blown away, but that's just, you know, that's the way things are moving, which is just weird to think about. And she's thinking when you're saying that, like, okay, Boomer. Yeah, like... She's thinking, oh, this prehistoric vehicle, which it's a 93. I mean, yeah, that was a little bit of shock to me, but it's, you know, that's the kids growing up now. It's just push to start, power windows, automatic. That's it. Mm-hmm. You sound like a grandpa, Zach. This is the kind of stuff that gets an okay Boomer response. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know, but. Yeah, I mean, I think you know, saying that about crank windows, I think that was totally on point. Well, and I didn't mean it to be derogatory, of course. Right. I'm just kind of joking around. I mean, this is YouTube. This isn't dead serious. We're not changing the world here. Yeah. You know, we're not discussing politics. We're not discussing religion. We're just talking about cars. Let's have some fun, you know? Yeah. I had a little instance recently. Someone thought I was trying to make a political statement in one of my reviews. And they got all, you know, up in arms about it, whatever. Called the company that I was working with just
irate, just raging about this political statement, or they thought I was making a political statement. And the company was super cool about it, and they just said to me, you know, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if I was trying to make a political statement, do you think I would say it in a Kia Sorento video?
Yeah, and would I mask it the way I did in a Kia Sorento video?
Yeah, if I was trying to come out as this super, you know, crazy person, I don't think I would choose the avenue of car YouTuber driving a new Kia. But, you know, whatever, I guess.
I mean, car YouTuber driving a Lamborghini, maybe. But, you know.
Maybe then, if I drive another Lamborghini, I'll let the world know my political views.
Sure. Yeah, because then who cares? It's like, I have a Lamborghini.
Yeah. So, getting back to Model A's, how many have you owned?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that, and the answer is I don't know, because between my dad and I, now keep in mind, you know, of course, he's about to turn 91. He's just figuring out that he's not going to live forever, so we are actually beginning to sell cars now.
Okay.
I personally, I was just looking at my insurance policy. I own in writing right now, only in my name, 5 Model A's. But between my dad and I right now, we own 11.
Okay.
But all the buying and selling we've done and everything, I haven't really kept track. And in fact, we sold, well, I had a AA flatbed truck that I'd completely forgotten about. And, you know, we'd sold it, I don't know how many years ago. And I was just going through some pictures and I saw that truck and I was like, I completely forgot I had that. So it's like, how many other cars have I forgotten about? So I don't know. And unfortunately, you know, what happens is though, they all kind of start to blend together you're probably at that point now. You've probably had enough cars too. To where you're thinking back, remember that one 74 Mazda? You don't remember that thing. And then all of a sudden you see a picture of it. It's kind of like if someone says, hey, remember that time you played football in high school? You're like, I never played football. Well, here's a picture of you playing football in high school. And you're like, whoa.
You know, I haven't had, I think I've owned 6 cars, only 4 of which have been Mazdas. But the thing that gets me now is parts. You know, I have these parts bins and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know if this is a 12A, 13B. I don't know what car this is off of. It's silver. I don't know. I've run into that where like I've had to call friends and I'm like, hey, can you identify this part? I pulled it off of something somewhere and I just have no idea where to put it.
Where?
So
yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. So we've got, you know, between my dad, we have all these parts. So we've got, and I'm not joking, probably 100 fenders and probably, you know, a couple hundred wheels. I mean, it's just kind of this thing that's amassed. And thankfully, 99% of it's at his house. Although he keeps reminding me that someday he's not going to be around and all this is going to have to somehow fit at my house.
Right.
And, but you know, it's like, we don't have, you know, the other day we were looking for the little rubber pieces that go under the light bar, you know, that where the fenders and the light bar meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we've got 100 of those things. We couldn't find them. I don't know where they are. So we have to call up a part supplier and order some. Yeah. Of course, they're out. You know? And it's like, okay, so we call another one. Okay, you got it. Okay, great. So we order them, get them on the way. You know what's going to happen is as soon as they arrive, we're going to get the ones we need. We're going to put the rest on the shelf. There's going to be all the rest of them.
Right. Oh, it happens every single time.
Yeah. In our shop, we call it the clock syndrome because it was one of those situations where we knew we had a clock. And my old man, he's like looking all over for this clock. He has no idea where forget it. I'll just go buy one. He goes down to like, you know, Walmart, Target, whatever, buys this little battery clock, gets it home. He decides, you know what, I'm going to put it on the shelf right now. I'm not going to hang it yet. Puts it on the shelf right next to the old one. and so now everything we do, like, you know, with the rubber pads, now we just say it's the clock.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I've run into that issue so many times.
Well, when you start amassing parts, see, here's the thing. And people who don't build things won't understand this. But if you don't build things, you don't have to have stuff around. But if you build things, you have to have parts and supplies and pieces and nuts and bolts. And you have to keep this stuff around. You can't run to the hardware store for each individual bolt you need when you're working on a project.
Yeah.
So if you build things, you have things. And the problem is you have to catalog these things, which 99% of us just catalog it all in our head. And you have to store them. You have to keep them dry and clean and, you know, ready to use and all that. And if you don't build things, you don't have that problem. you don't think that way.
Yeah.
But when you do build things, you do think that way, and your brain begins to become clouded with all the stuff you've got. Now, where is it? What condition is it in? How many do I have? That's where you run into problems.
Yeah, no, I've tried to make, an Excel spreadsheet. I've tried to make a notebook of everything, and it's just impossible. That's tried.
Tech.
I get through about 2 pages, and then it's not good from there.
No, and we've gotten to the point now, we've got so many Model A parts, there's no way we could categorize all this and then put it in a spreadsheet. And there's no way. We're way beyond that point now. I mean, the other day, we were looking at headlight buckets. And well, we know where the headlight buckets are because we can see them from almost everywhere in the garage. We go up there, we start going through the headlight buckets. We've got like 100 headlight buckets. I'm not joking. Yeah. And find the best pair. Well, you know what? Just grab a couple. You're never going to find the best pair in a stack of 100.
Yeah.
Just grab a couple, polish them, and put them on the car.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, I now know who I'm going to call when I need parts. I mean...
Well, you're a friend now, so yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. So, getting back, like, what specific parts draw you to, like, a certain Model A? Like, if you're going to buy one, like, what are you looking for when you buy? Or you just want them all? You just want to sample everything?
Well, I don't have a favorite body style, but I have a couple body styles I think are ugly. And shockingly, I know this is going to completely go against the grain of everything that is all wholly in Model A's. I don't like the way coupes look.
Okay.
And I know that's like the holy grail of hot rodders is the coupes. But for whatever reason, the coupes, I think the back fenders are too wide.
I kind of agree with you there. I kind of don't really love the coupes all that much.
Yeah, if you look at it from the rear end, I mean, it looks like a bodybuilder went way too heavy on the arms and didn't do anything for the torso, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the most beautiful body style, luckily, is the... most easily attainable, that's the 2-door sedan. I just love the way they look.
Yeah.
And then, secondarily, I like the 4-door sedans that have the 3 windows on the sides. Yeah, and it's hard to say, but that's probably my favorite body style, those 2-door, followed closely by the 3-window 4-doors. And then next, for whatever reason, and I didn't even think about it much until I saw one in person, and it is the ultra rare, was it the 50B or the 51, the pickup truck, the one that Ford did in 31 for General Electric.
Okay.
And in one of my videos is one of those trucks, and they're super rare, and Doug Clayton has one. And I never really thought, I saw them in pictures, they're all white with black fenders, every one of them, but it's the ones where the sides of the body of the pickup meet and are riveted to the sides of the cab. So it's like the first fleet side pickup that Ford did.
Interesting.
And I thought they were, kind of dumb, ugly, gross, whatever. They got these big, humongous, like 2-inch diameter pipes on the sides. And I thought ugly as heck. And then I saw Doug's. I saw it in person and I fell in love with it. It is now easily my 3rd favorite body style, if not my 2nd favorite.
Okay. Interesting.
But you've probably done that too. You see a car in person, totally different than the picture.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'll get in a car to review and I'm like, this thing's kind of ugly. And then I, spend the nice hour filming it, every angle of it. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, this actually, it's kind of a good looking car after you spend some time with it.
Yeah. It's like, I could handle this.
Yeah.
I could daily this. It's kind of the same. It's like, what was it? James May says, don't meet your childhood heroes when he was driving the Lamborghini Countach.
Yeah.
Because he says, he had the poster of it, and he was in love with it. He saw it in person and, he hated it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the opposite. It's like, I didn't really like that pickup. And then I see it in person. I was like, wow. But, what is the chance of me obtaining a 1 in, 17 left in the world, Model A? Nil. That's what it is. But thankfully, Doug was so gracious and so nice. He was like, yeah, do whatever you want. Up until driving it, you draw the line somewhere. But, he was like, yeah, drool over it all you want. I'll wipe it up. No big deal. It was so nice. And
yeah.
I got to play with that truck. And, oh, man. Yeah, it's just breathtaking, some of these things.
So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about someone who might be listening to this who doesn't have a Model A, but is looking to get into one. They want to start, this sort of passion that you and I both have. So what are some known weak points of the Model A?
Oh, that's a great question. There are very few weak points. However, I always stress in at least every other video, before you go anywhere, lube the distributor.
Mm-hmm.
And the Model A distributor, it's driven off of the valve cam. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a worm drive, right angle, comes up to a shaft. That spins the distributor. There's no lubrication there. There's a lubrication point on the distributor. And now people have been modifying the upper shafts and drilling them so they can get lubrication to that top bushing or whatever. But it says you're supposed to lube that every 500 miles. I do it more than that. But there's zero lubrication to that thing with just the engine running. And I see videos all the time on YouTube where, guys will pull a Model A out of a barn and they'll go through the electrical real quick to get some spark to it and then start them up and run them. It just makes me cringe every time because I know what's going to happen. Henry Ford put a fiber timing gear on the Model A for a good reason. And the reason is if the distributor seizes, that cam's not going to turn anymore and you'll strip the fiber gear because it's driven right off the crankshaft. So if they put a metal gear on there and your distributor seizes and you're spinning this metal gear with a metal gear, you're going to bust something, probably the crankcase.
Right.
So they put the fiber timing gear on there for a reason, because if a distributor seizes, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but luckily it's not an interference type engine. I mean, it's a flathead motor. The valves are not going to hit the pistons and all this kind of stuff. Thankfully, I mean, it doesn't cause major damage, but you're definitely on the side of the road. You're definitely saying cuss words. And now you have a little bit of surgery to do.
Right.
And you probably have some teeth to pull out of the pan. But so that's the main thing. And if there is a weak point in a Model A, I would say it's no lubrication to the distributor shaft. You have to lubricate it manually. You have to pull the little oiler out and put a few drops of oil down there. And I do that almost every time I drive the car. You really can't overlube it. And if you do put too much oil, it just runs into the crankcase anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that's really kind of it. The electrical system on a stock Model A, as you know, has no fuses or anything like that.
Right.
And it's kind of the opposite of the Prince of Darkness. They talk about, the British car electrical systems. And it's the opposite of that. It's the Prince of Light, because if a Model A stock electrical system has a short, there's going to be a fire and it's going to be bright.
Yeah.
So put that fuse in. They make the little fuse holder that goes on the starter that takes a couple of the screws off the starter switch and holds it in place, and you just put a 20-30 amp fuse in there and boom, you're done. At least it stops the Prince of Light from making a visit.
I'm literally writing down right now, buy fuse holder.
Buy fuse holder now, today.
Well, luckily our car's away for winter, so we can order it and I'll probably get it out here March or April. But definitely that is something I'm writing down right now.
Oh my gosh, yes. That is a must. Now, where you are, you don't drive your Model A's in the wintertime. Out here on the West Coast, we have some pretty nice weather. We can drive all year round. So, question for you, when you put your Model A up for 6 months, how much do you miss it?
A ton. I mean, a ton. Especially right now, just because I'm sure, as I've had my RX-7s and Miatas, and there's a certain type of people that always come up to me with those cars, especially the RX-7, because of the rotary, and people are like, oh, I had one of these in high school or whatever. I've always thought the rotaries are cool. But when you drive the Model A, everyone stops and waves. I literally feel like I'm in a parade every time I drive it, just through downtown. Everyone waves, everyone says hi, everyone wants a picture with it. It attracts non-car people, which is just my favorite thing. Where the RX-7, it attracts car people, which is cool, but it doesn't have that wide audience, which I love. So I miss going downtown and parking it and having some kid, light up or whatever.
Oh, that's a really keen observation. I've come out and seen girls hugging my Model A,
Yeah.
And people taking selfies and all. One of my videos, I talk about, daily driving the Model A, which it's been a daily driver now for years up until just recently now.
Right.
Insurance is nuts out here in California. It's a whole nother podcast on that. But,
yeah.
But people are saying, how come you lock the car every time you go to the store or whatever? And even though I live in a rural area and there isn't a lot of crime or whatever, it's because people have zero respect for your car. And I've come out of the store so many times, and there's people in my car taking selfies or playing with it like it's a toy. Or this isn't the horsey that takes quarters in front of the store. This is not a toy. this is what I drove to the store and what I intend to drive home. If you don't mess up my car, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So the reason I lock the Model A when I get out is A, I don't want my stuff missing, but B, I don't want people messing around with it when I'm not there.
Right.
What happens if they take the brake off or something and it rolls over somebody or, whatever?
Yeah. Luckily, I have not had that thing, but I've definitely come out and had people like asking about it or taking a picture with it. And then I walk up to it and they don't register that it's my car because, I'm 23. It doesn't seem like a vehicle that I would be driving. And so they just continue to take pictures. And then when they're done, I just get in and drive away. And the look on their faces is pretty priceless.
I wonder if you'll ever run into what happened to my friend Mike. He has a 1930 Model A pickup.
Okay.
And he came out of the store one day and there was an older guy, and I'm saying this with the deepest respect, standing next to the truck on the cell phone. Of course, it's a flip phone. He's on the phone. And my friend Mike, he walks up to the truck. Mike starts to get in the truck and he says, "Hey," he says, "don't touch that." And Mike's like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
And the guy's standing there and he says, "This is my truck." And the guy is screaming at him and he says, "You stole this. You stole this from the museum. I'm on the phone with the police right now. They're on their way. You wait right here." And he was literally calling the police. Because he swore that
crazy.
He saw Mike get out of the pickup and he was convinced Mike stole the pickup from a museum.
I mean, what a compliment though. I mean,
I know. Yeah, but Mike is like your age, so the guy's like, he's thinking he stole the truck.
Yeah. Someone would be like, "Hey, you stole that from You Pull It Pick Parts in Aurora," when they look at my Model A. So it's not quite
your
museum
Model A is
quality.
not that bad. Oh, come on. All your Model A needs is some carpeting. Get over it.
We have the carpeting. I don't think it's the stock carpeting, and it keeps sliding under the clutch and brake. So we need to figure something out for that. But the way
the carpeting goes in the Model A, there's the little clips. There's like 2 up top on each side of the shifter. And there's a couple down. So it kind of clips into place. There's like I don't know, let's call it rivets, but they're not really rivets.
Right.
That kind of hold it. So there should be holes in the carpet, and then the holes go over these little things that grab the carpet.
Yeah, our carpet must not be factory because it definitely doesn't have holes. It was like, I think it was like double-sided Velcroed down, and it just, because it was, quote unquote restored in the early 80s. I think someone just Velcroed in new carpet. I don't think it's factory carpet now that you say that. Oh,
well, maybe. Well, that's an easy modification.
Yeah, definitely would look into that. I always thought that our Model A was, it has the original paint color on it. It was resprayed, but it's the original paint color and everything. And I thought it was good. And then I saw your videos and I was like, wow, this is a jalopy that we own.
No, it's not. Come on. But you know what, though? And I'm sure you've been to car shows. I'm sure you've seen this, where you get like these beautifully like restored cars. They're so shiny, so polished. It looks like the very last polish was done with the inside of a cat's ear, just perfect cars, right?
Yeah.
And then you see some guy pull up with a jalopy looking car next to it, and that's the one that gets all the attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've seen that.
The one thing about our car is that we do drive, borderline, we drive the wheels off of it. I mean, when it's sunny, and back when my dad actually went to work pre-COVID, he would take it to work any sunny day, to the point where I'll film car reviews in town, and I was like, oh, it's a Friday, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to take the Model A to work, film some reviews and take the Model A home. And I was all excited about it, got all my gear together, took a shower, went outside. My dad already took it to work. He already took it. It was gone.
Nice.
So we do drive our car a lot, which is, and it like you said earlier, we haven't had an issue with it, like almost at all, knock on wood.
Yeah, they're like crazy reliable, huh?
Yeah, which has just been great. Honestly, I say it's probably the most reliable car we own, obviously coming from rotaries. And then even, I bought a 2019 Mazda 3. It's been back in the shop, I think, 3 times for little stuff. Ooh, but, I've had to take it to the shop. I just recently had a rental car because it was in the shop. And it's just, the Model A just doesn't miss.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I had a situation. I bought It's a long story, but I bought a brand new Jeep. I bought brand new, ordered it. It even said on the build sheet, custom built for Paul Shinn, all this kind of stuff. Because I wanted all the good off-road stuff, but I didn't want all the foo-foo stuff. I didn't want compass and heated seats and all that, foo-foo. So anyway, I ordered the thing, got it, and I thought, this is going to be the car I'm going to drive till the day I die. This is going to be my work car, whatever. Anyway, that thing, that thing was constantly having problems. And I remember one day, the clincher for that, before I listed it on Craigslist and got rid of that POS, was I walk out to the shop one day and it was like 2 days before Christmas. I've got family coming over. I need to run to the store. I need to get something that I needed. I don't know, baking powder or something that I desperately needed. I go in the shop. I start the Jeep to let it warm up. And it warms up. It's running fine. I get in the Jeep to back out and the shifter will not move out of park. This thing is stuck in park solid, right? I'm like, you jerk. But I got stuff in the oven. I need, my baking powder right now, whatever. So I'm like, screw it. So I walk over the wall, grab the keys to the 31 Model A, jump in, start it, starts right up. I drive to the store. I come back. I park it in the shop next to the Jeep. And I sat there staring at the Jeep. I gave it dagger eyes. It was like, just die, I was just, so I hate it. That's when it clicked in my head. I hate this Jeep. I paid top dollar for it because I ordered it specifically to my specifications, and I hate it.
What year was that Jeep?
A 2006.
Okay. Interesting. I've heard shifter issues in the earlier, like, XJs, but not in the... I at least haven't heard about the newer ones. I mean, I've heard... We've had bad stories about Mopar products, though. I mean, I will never buy one with my money.
Well, I would buy a 69 Dodge Charger General Lee, though.
Well...
I mean, other than that...
That is pre what they are now. I think the last good Chrysler product was the K car.
Oh, dude, I'll second that. You know what? I took my driver's training in high school. Driver's training had K cars.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought, what a POS. But then after driving it around, it's like, this thing almost drives itself.
Yeah.
It was so easy. So that Jeep, I sell it on Craigslist eventually. So what happens, here's this Jeep stuck in the shop. I call up, and this is, one of those repeated things. I mean, the dealer knows my voice. That's how bad it is. You call up, hey, Paul, how's it going?
Yeah.
Hey, it's screwed up again. Come get it, whatever. Tow it to the shop, all the way to the dealer, which is like 30, 40 miles away. Okay. And tow it all the way to the dealer. They have it for a week and a half. They figure out what was wrong. They fix it. It's like $600 and something to fix it. All right, fine. So I go to pick it up. I drive it home. I'm not kidding you, Zach. I drive it home. I park it in the shop. I don't even touch the thing for like almost 2 months, right?
Yeah.
So I get out there to start it to go somewhere. It does it again. I'm like, that's it. I got the floor jack out. I jacked up the rear end. I pulled it out of the shop. I dumped it off in front of the shop. And I said, you are for sale as of right now. I am done, right? So this does have a happy ending, I promise. So I'll make it quick. So I end up taking it to the dealer. They fix it again. It's another $300 because it was a different thing, blah, blah, blah. They fix it. I get it home. I don't even drive the thing. I'm like, screw it. It's on Craigslist. I take pictures. And this thing was flawed. This thing had almost like, it had 8,000 miles on it. This thing's like new, right? Even though this is like 15 years later, I hardly drove it. So... and maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Everybody's going to have opinions on it now listening to the podcast. Well, you idiot. You have to drive it every week. So anyway, I posted on Craigslist. This couple drives all the way down from a little by Chico in a town called Paradise.
Okay.
And don't get ahead of me here. So they drive all the way down. They see it. They fall in love with it. They buy it. They spent, I listed it for like $8,000, which was high blue book on it. They bought it, paid cash, didn't even haggle over the prices. This thing's fantastic. You never drive? No, I never drove it. But I told them the problems it had with the shifter.
Right.
Because I had it had been dealer serviced. I showed them, I had every service, showed them all the paperwork. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm just telling you guys, this is the deal. And so they bought it. They take it home to Paradise. About a year later, we had that huge Paradise fire. The fire that burned the entire town of Paradise down, including their home. So the fire was rushing up the hill. So this couple grabs their dog, gets in that Jeep, and drives out of there and makes it out with just the clothes on their back and their dog in that Jeep.
Wow.
That's all they owned in the whole world, right?
Yeah.
And so they got a hold of me just letting, hey, the Jeep's fine. Like I care about the Jeep,
Right, yeah.
The Jeep's fine. That thing, we got out of there, and man, there was, all these people trying to get out. We used the 4-wheel drive. We went off road a little bit, and we got out of there. We're safe. We're fine, but our house is all gone and everything. And I was thinking in the back of my head, if that had been me, that Jeep would have let me die.
Maybe your situation wasn't dire enough for the Jeep to say, okay, I'll work today.
A Model A wouldn't have let me die, but I knew that Jeep would have.
Yeah.
And actually laughed about it.
Now that you bring that up, I used to work at a car wash here in town. And I remember we had strict training we actually had like a protocol if a Jeep came in through the car wash, because there were instances where the Jeeps, if they got bumped, they would switch into drive. They had shifter issues. And so they would shift into drive and just literally fly out of the car wash tunnel.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, we watched videos of security camera footage of just these Jeeps just flooring it out of the car wash tunnels into traffic. So I do remember that. And it must have been a mid-2000s. I think it was a Cherokee that had that issue of where the shifters were just unpredictable.
Oh my gosh. So much worse than your dog running out into traffic.
Yeah, you have a 4,000 or 5,000 pound Jeep going into traffic.
Right. Yeah. Oh, no, that's scary.
Yeah. No, I just remembered that. I forgot about that. We had specific training, and we had to call the advisor at the back of the tunnel. If we were at the front of the car wash tunnel spraying cars, we had to tell them that a Jeep was coming through, so they could, I don't know what their protocol was, or I don't know what they prepared, but it was just like a heads up.
Attention all personnel. There is a Jeep in the car wash.
Attention, some sucker bought a Jeep, so just watch out. Right. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, if not for the need of an off-road vehicle, I'd drive my Model A to work too. But I have to, I work in broadcasting, like I said, but I'm an engineer. And I maintain, everything in the studios, all the audio gear and all that, but also the transmitter sites, which usually they don't make nice paved roads because I'm the only one going up there. And transmitter sites are on mountaintops that you normally would never go to under any circumstances, let alone in the horrible weather that we get sometimes. So I need 4-wheel drive. I have to have it. Luckily now I can say I drive a Ford product that has been very reliable and has not left me stranded. Because the problem is up on these hilltops, especially some of the roads that are so scary to get to, you can't get a tow truck up there. If your truck pukes, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Unless you want to fly a helicopter up there and get it or something. I don't know.
It's interesting that you say that, because if you actually wanted to get into rotary pickup trucks and stuff, if you got a early 2000s Mazda B2200 pickup, are you familiar with those?
No.
So Mazda made this piston engine pickup truck in the 90s. It actually shared a lot of parts with the Ford Ranger. But if you rotary swap one, it's actually easier to rotary swap a 4-wheel drive B2200 pickup truck, and then you would have a 4-wheel drive rotary vehicle, which would be quite interesting if that's something you wanted to look into.
Yeah. It would be nimble and, it would be buzzy and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
kind of sweet.
Yeah. So, because my friend picked up a B2200 a while ago, and his plan was to rotary swap it. He ended up going with a Lexus V8, which is just insane. But so we called up Atkins Rotary. They're like the premier rotary supplier, based out of Washington. Great people, by the way. They've been on the podcast. And I called him, and he's like, honestly, try to find a 4-wheel drive one. It's a lot easier to build the mounts and stuff like that. You just need an engine mount, and that's really it, and an oil pan to get over the cross member. But besides that, it's a almost bolt-in swap.
That makes more sense than what I was thinking, which is try to make a 4-wheel drive Model A.
I was just thinking about that when you mentioned that you needed 4-wheel drive. Has that been done?
Not that I know of, but I'm sure there's people who can. I'm just not creative enough, I guess, to think of what parts I could use. I don't know enough about cars. I'm not a car guy. I don't know enough about cars to go, oh yeah, well I could use the differential off of this, 1984 Toyota, and I could use the, transfer case out of this Chevy, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I know there's guys that can do that, but I've always kind of had that in the back of my mind. What if I could make a 4-wheel drive Ford Model A? I just think that might be the epitome. I mean, that's better than a Ford Model A limousine. That's like the coolest thing I could think of.
That would be really, really cool to see. Would you still use the 4-cylinder with that?
Oh, heck yeah. That motor's so reliable. Oh my gosh, yes.
It does. It makes so much torque. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, Jay Leno once said that torque moved the 19th century. And what he means by that, I mean, because you know, you look at the evolution and you look at steam, and steam is all torque. You don't have gearboxes for steam because it would be like starting out your car in fourth gear all the time, and it just does it. And so keep in mind, you know, a lot of people who saw a Model A Ford had never had a lot of experience with an automobile, maybe seen one, maybe drove one, maybe. The idea with the Model A and a lot of the cars at the time was to get it into the highest gear and leave it there. So the Ford Model A, you know, like you can put your four-door in third, for instance, go around a corner. So say you're going 10 miles an hour out of the corner, you don't have to downshift, just leave it in third. And assuming you're not putting your foot into it and pounding the Babbitt bearings out of your motor, if you gradually take off from the corner, you don't even need to downshift. The torque will just pull it right through that corner. Now, of course, you can destroy the torque in a Model A by lightening the flywheel, which I know that's kind of a popular modification. I'm doing air quotes. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes. Popular modification is to lighten the flywheel. They say it makes shifts easier, but it robs you of the torque. So the way Henry designed it with that 60 some odd pound flywheel on there, there's a good reason for that. The torque from the Model A engine is usable all the way through the RPM range, right up till you get up to about 50 miles an hour, and then they kind of fall on their face.
Right.
But and you've seen it, like pulling a hill in a Model A, it takes a long time before it starts to bog. Until you lighten the flywheel, they'll bog right away if you do that.
Yeah, that's the thing with RX-7s is rotaries make so little torque. It's funny because they're the opposite of a Model A engine. They make so little torque that people that put lightweight flywheels on the cars sometimes have trouble idling in traffic. Like it's just it's so light it just doesn't even keep the engine moving, because in a rotary there's only 3 moving parts, which is wild.
Yeah, you've got that triangle looking thing and you got some other round thing, and
you have 2 triangles and essentially a crankshaft, but it's called the eccentric shaft, and that's it. You have no valves, you have no springs, nothing.
See how much I know about cars? See? But yeah, that's the thing. So you don't have a lot of spinning inertia. Now that this gets into the engineer thing, so this is feeding directly into my autism here. So you don't have all that movement of metal going around perpetuating that motion. So like when you shut off a rotary, it doesn't like come down an RPM slowly. You shut it off, it stops. You know, that's it. Whereas a Model A engine with a proper weight flywheel, when you shut it off, it'll still, like, you hear a couple more rotations.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
that's
need
torque.
I need to stick my microphone under the hood of my Model A, because that's like after a long night, like this one night, you know, I had a friend pass away a couple months ago, and so we all went out to the bar, and then we went on this long drive all together, and we stopped by the memorial and things like this. And, you know, I drove the Model A for probably 2.5, 3 hours that night, like straight. And just coming home and just powering it down, and you hear that extra puff or two, is just such a satisfying sound because you know you made it through the night.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. That really sucks.
I appreciate it, but he was a car guy, so we all brought the fun cars out, and of course my RX-7 is being an RX-7 and not running. So so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put some miles on the Model A tonight.
Very good. Yeah, you know what? And Model A's, I've said it in so many videos, Model A's make people smile.
Yeah.
And you've seen it. I mean, when you're driving your Ford around, like you said, you know, driving downtown, you miss seeing people smile and react to the car. It's so interactive versus, you know, your typical jelly bean on wheels that you drive these days. So when you drive to something where, you know, I mean, a memorial is not a happy time. I mean, you kind of laugh. It helps you get over the pain and the loss and all that stuff. But then you interject something like a Model A into the mix, and it just seems to help. You know, you think back, and you could do it a couple different ways. You could say, well, the Model A's are just fun. They're, you know, funny little cars, and it just kind of uplifts you. I mean, the headlights look like eyes looking at you and all. And then the other side of it is you think about, you know, that Model A's been through way worse than I have just now. That Model A saw World War II.
Yeah.
That Model A saw Vietnam.
Yeah.
That Model A has been through way more than me.
Right.
And I'll get through this too. That's kind of what the Model A kind of It's subconscious. It's not, it's not printed on the door. It's a subconscious thing.
Right. And I remember that same night. So my friend passed away in a motorcycle accident, and it was right in front of a huge parking lot. So like we made a little memorial there and stuff, and we were out there that night. And I was like, a lot of those people hadn't ridden in the Model A. So I was like, hop in. We packed 6 people into my Model A and kept driving laps around this huge parking lot. And we were taking corners, and it was leaning and all that stuff, which I have watched your video. I will try to clean up the body roll a little bit. But I mean, everyone was just laughing. They were like, how many people can sit in there? And I'm like, well, there's no seatbelts, so as many people as we can comfortably fit. So we were just going around this parking lot, and we were all laughing and giggling and just having a good time. And I think it helped everyone that night sort of get over what had happened a few days prior. And, that's what you were saying. It brings this joy to people that is just an absolute blast to share as well.
Well, of course you helped everyone out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
plus, you've got a 4-door. You've got all that room in the back. I'm a little shocked. You should have gotten 8 people in there.
Well, I didn't want to push the running boards too much.
Well, you saw what Georgia Tech did. Georgia Tech, their mascot is a Model A coupe. It's a sport coupe.
Really?
And they reinforced the running boards so that all the cheerleaders can stand on the running boards when they drive the car out onto the field.
Huh. I never knew that.
Yeah, check it out. Georgia Tech. The car is called the Rambling Wreck, and it's they've got it painted gold and white, the school colors and all that. Many years ago, so the students maintain the Rambling Wreck.
Okay.
And since students are always cycling through the school, there's always a new batch of students. The group that was maintaining the car many years ago got a hold of me, and I was kind of like helping them through a couple of the situations they were working through with the car. And I thought, wow, I got to help out. So then I'd never watched, college football or any of that stuff. I mean, I'm a nerd. I don't watch sports. I mean, come on. So, I mean, those are the people that give me swirlies. They're not the people I watch on TV. So I started watching Georgia Tech, and I became a big fan because here's the Rambling Wreck rolling out on the field with, 10 cheerleaders, standing on the running boards and waving pom-poms. And they're like, yeah, let's go. And then the team runs out behind the car. That's how they start all their games.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, that's a model. Is that what year is that? That's earlier than mine, and it looks like it has a different grill.
It's a 30.
It's a 30? Okay.
Yeah, it's a 30 sport coupe.
Okay. Did those have different grills than the 4-doors?
No.
It looks like it has a different grill than ours. Maybe ours doesn't have a factory grill.
Well, they might have changed it around. Yeah, it might not be. Who knows? Well, it's been worked on by students for how many years? Who knows? They could have changed it or something. I mean,
interesting.
Improved or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, as soon as I found out, wait, there's a football team who has a Model A as their mascot, I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, that's way cooler. One of the state schools here, there's like a association, and they have a convertible Z31 300ZX, which is custom. They never made them convertible. So I think Georgia Tech is a little bit cooler with the Model A than a 300ZX.
Yeah, that is cool. But Zach, you can make any car into a convertible. I mean, don't you have a Sawzall?
I do have a Sawzall, and I have used it on 1 or 2 exhaust pipes, and I'm not proud of it.
Well, that's too bad, Zach. I mean, come on. Get with it.
I mean, I was a teenager at one point, so I don't, give myself a little bit of credit. But yeah, that's really interesting. I might have to watch the Georgia Tech games now that they have a Model A going out on the field.
Yeah, well, just watch the beginnings. The beginnings are the best part because then you don't see the Model A anymore. But, it seems like the way to get views and likes on YouTube seems to be destroy really good cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's so depressing.
Oh, it drives me completely nuts. And even though I'm not a car guy, I still recognize the beauty, the engineering, everything that goes into making a beautiful car. And then I see these yahoos. No offense, yahoos. No offense. Okay, don't get mad at Zach.
If any yahoos are listening.
If any yahoos are listening. What do you mean if? Okay, so they go and they get hey, look what I just bought. I bought a 1947, whatever, Willys pickup, and I'm going to turn this into a rat rod. I'm just like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. I feel it all the way down to my skull. It's just, oh.
I think rat rods had their place, but I think now you're just kind of cutting up good cars to make rat rods is just, that's a headache and a half right there.
Well, I just use that as an example, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And I say that with all affection because rat rods, I get it. Okay. Even though I'm not a car guy, I get it. I love seeing what people come up with. It's like imagination run amok.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Some of the stuff they do. I get it.
Yeah.
But please, for the love of all that is holy in Detroit or anywhere that makes cars, don't cut up a perfectly good restored car, please. Or perfectly good Survivor, and you know, I get it all the time. I have that 29 4-door that's completely original. It's never been apart. And that car's amazing. And if you start taking it apart, you lose something. And so a completely unrestored Survivor car, especially one that's, 92 years old now. When I do drive that, I don't drive it very often, as one of my video shows, but when I do, and I like drive to town or whatever, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen this with your 4-door. There's always like someone comes up to you at the gas station or wherever. Hey man, that's really cool. I used to have one of those. I put a 350 in it. And that's great. Whatever. But guys are constantly trying to buy my 4-door, and they're always telling me all the stuff they're going to do to it it's like, guy, don't you realize what this car is? What you're looking at right now is a completely unrestored Survivor 92-year-old car. Does that not mean anything to you? I did when I think it was the first. Yeah, no, I take that back. It was the second Concours d'Elegance where I took the 29, and Wayne Carini is there. You've heard of that guy, haven't you?
Yeah.
He has a TV show and some other stuff. I didn't know who the guy was. It's some short guy with a bushy mustache. I don't know who he is. So my friend that I'm there with, who is a car guy, and he's like, dude, don't you know who that is? That's Wayne Carini. I don't know this guy. I'm not impressed, So the car won best unrestored. And so I drive the car across the stage. Wayne Carini pulls me aside. He's like, hey, I'm Wayne Carini. I says, oh yeah, my friend, mentioned who you were or whatever. I'm Paul Shinn. Nice to meet you, whatever. And he says, have you ever thought about maybe selling this car? I said, well, Mr. Carini, I don't really think so. It's been in the family, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he says, I really, really, really want this car. And he was a nice guy. He was nice.
Oh yeah.
And, I don't know that. I've never seen his TV show. I still haven't. But I'm like, Mr. Carini, thank you. That's very flattering. Thank you for the company. But I don't really want to sell the car. It's going to drive home and it's going to get parked. And he goes, you drove this here? I'm like, yeah. I mean, why would I trailer a perfectly good car, And so he was real impressed. He asked a lot of questions about the car, just like a lot of other people did that day. I mean, there was thousands of people there at the concourse, So yeah, sure. I was used to answering questions. Always real nice, but he started to get a little pushy,
Yeah.
He almost went as far as, don't you know who I am? Almost to that point. And I'm not going to say offense, but I took it a little bit. He was getting a little pushy. And I finally got to the point. Of course, my friend's standing there by this point, the car guy. And he's like, man, you should really sell him that car. It'll be on the TV show. I don't care. And at some point I said, Mr. Carini, not only will I not sell this car, I especially will not sell it to you.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Have a nice... Well, because I already know, because my friend tells me, well, he's going to put the car in his TV show and he's going to flip it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's like
100%.
one of these car flipper guys.
Yeah.
And their goal is to buy some cheap car, and they make it look like it only takes a week, and they dump, a paint job and a motor into it, and then they sell it at an auction and talk about how smart they are because they made all this money.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. I don't care. And I certainly don't want to see my car involved in that.
Yeah.
Especially not a car that we as a family love so much, that's been such a part of our family. So, no. And then when he continued to push, I got a little pushy back. And then you should have seen everybody gave me dagger eyes for the rest of the day.
Oh, I'm sure.
You talked to Wayne Carini like that?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I totally understand where you're coming from, though. And, like, I always think it's so stupid how they're like, oh, in under a week, this is a complete restoration. It's like, no, I know how those work. That was not a week.
No. And I'm an electrical engineer, and I see the work they do on the electrical systems, and it makes me barf.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, the opposite. And I certainly didn't want to see my pristine, original 29 4-door end up in one of those shows.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, your car's been in your family. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
What would your reaction be when some guy who has a TV show, I don't know, pick somebody, pick Gas Monkey Garage or whoever, I don't care, Roadkill, whatever, and they're pushing you, hey, man, I want this car because it's going to be on my TV show and it's going to get me a lot of likes or whatever. At some point, you're not going to be nice anymore.
Yeah.
At some point, even your autism would kick in, Zach.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. And like, our Model A holds so much just sentimental value, because it's really the only thing that my grandpa left me and my dad was the Model A. That's the only thing that he left to us. And I remember as a kid, he had the car. It was a 25th wedding anniversary gift from my grandma to my grandpa. She went out, found the car. She knew that he was interested in the Model A's. My grandpa was one of the furthest people from a car guy you'll ever meet. He never turned a wrench on the thing ever. He was a police officer for a long time. Then he was actually the mayor of our town for 20 years. And so he would drive the car in in parades and stuff. And then he'd take me and my cousins out once a year. He'd take us out on a little drive. And every time we would drive past Dairy Queen, he would say that the steering was broken and turn the car into Dairy Queen and get us all ice cream and stuff like that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I grew up riding in this thing, and then I was so excited to learn how to drive it. I had driven stick shift before, but not a whole lot. So it was a whole different learning curve, I'm sure, as you know. And so, that's why I love sharing our Model A and stuff. And whenever someone asks, I always let them sit in it, take pictures and stuff, because when my grandpa was the mayor, that's what he did. He was a people's person. He would shake every person's hand until his hand fell off. And so that's sort of how I sort of remember him and stuff, is through that car. That's my way to interact with someone and sort of make their day is through that car. Which it's been insane to see. What I've noticed is a lot of just mundane, a lot of construction workers, or I had this mail lady freak out on me. She goes, "Oh my God." She's like, "I haven't seen one of these since I was a kid." She's like, "It's so beautiful. Can I take a picture with it?" And I was like, "You could sit in it." And her face just lit up. And so that's more meaningful to me than any guy with a show coming in and be like, "Hey, I want to buy your car." It's like, well, I mean, buying this car is giving up almost part of my personality at this point.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's especially a car like yours. It's part of the family.
Right.
What, I'm going to sell one of my kids or something?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's this car didn't directly start my love of cars, but I'm sure it helped my psyche at some point, being so small, sitting in this old-fashioned car. And my grandpa had a cork Tommy gun in the back, which, was great. So
nice. I don't think you can get away with it these days. People are kind of touchy about that.
Yeah, for Christmas, I got my dad an inflatable party gag Tommy gun, so we can keep it under the seat and then blow it up for a picture if someone wants it.
Nice.
But actually, going off the electrical and fuses, I also got my dad the shop manual for the electrical system of the Ford Model A with the cowl lights, because we do have the cowl lights. And when I tell you, I laughed for probably 5 straight minutes when I got that wiring diagram in the mail, because I expected this thick booklet like my RX-7. It's just one page.
Yeah, it's a leaflet.
It's just a piece of paper. And I was like, oh, I could have printed this on my desktop printer if I wanted to. I thought that was so funny.
I've done electrical system drawings for people when I'm out and about or whatever. And I got one in my garage. Electrical's garbage. Do you know how this works? And I can draw it on a piece of paper from memory.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's not just because I obsessed over it and memorized everything about the car. It's just because it's that simple. And it's elegant in its simplicity, which is what makes the car so reliable. All of it's engineered like that.
Yeah, that's just the beauty of it. I mean, because I found finally the proper wiring diagram for my 85 RX-7, and it's this thick booklet, like pages are faded, like, which makes it kind of hard sometimes because you're not really sure where the lines like end up. So I expected this thick booklet when I ordered it, and it's just like a piece of paper, and I think they gave me a sticker with it.
It looks like it's written in French, you know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's my dad's favorite part of the Model A too, is that, you know, he doesn't wrench as much as I do, but obviously that's where I sort of got, you know, how to work on cars and stuff was from him. But whenever there's an issue, I mean, we've never had an issue with the car last more than a day. When I went to my friend's funeral, actually, I kind of messed up the brakes, and the next day he was like, all right, brakes are fixed, you're all good. And I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, see, no lasting damage. It's all good. I've only had a Model A come home on a trailer once.
Really?
Yeah, well, it was, oh man, it was a long story. I was driving home from my dad's. My dad lives about an hour away.
Okay.
And it's a 2-lane, 55 mile an hour, you know, with hills and stuff like that. And I was dropping into a town. I was about 3/4 of the way home. Okay. And all of a sudden the thing just started vibrating, and I knew instantly. So I shut it off, coasted the side of the road, and I'd lost the center main Babbitt bearing in the motor. There's no fixing that on the side of the road. Well, I guess you could with a leather belt or whatever. I know people are going to, you know, it doesn't matter what you post on YouTube. There's going to be a million comments. Well, why didn't you just turn this bobby pin into a makeshift? I've done it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
every time.
It's like, I don't think the way people do. I panic, I guess. So, yeah, I pulled the side of the road. I called the, you know, metallic magic carpet came out, loaded the car. We took it home. And I got it home, realized, you know, when I dropped the pan, there's, you know, pieces of Babbitt all in the pan. All right, well, this is a rebuild. That is the only time I've never had a Model A leave me stranded in all the thousands and thousands, maybe 100,000 miles I've driven a Model A. I have never, ever not been able to drive home.
Yeah. Same here. Bizarre. I don't think our Model A, I don't know of a time it has been on a trailer. We store it a couple towns over, and we always drive it to and from storage. Even that day, so what ended up happening, and maybe this is a question for you, but we did the long funeral procession, which was like, man, it was like a 40-minute drive or whatever. And I cooked the brakes. It was a hot day, and I really cooked the brakes, and then I pulled the handbrake like an idiot, and it locked up.
It locks the rear end.
But,
yeah, Zach.
Well, end of the story is I got the car home, obviously. The brake still worked. It was just a handbrake that wasn't working. But is there a solid brake upgrade that we could do, or like just getting new drums? Because we've never serviced the brakes at all. We adjusted the brakes, but we've never serviced them. And we're a little worried because apparently there's asbestos in them, question mark?
No. Old brakes, like from the 50s and stuff, the solid brake pads, they have asbestos. The stock Model A brakes are like a canvas. It's a woven material.
Okay.
And if you can picture like a potato sack, I don't know. You remember those?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Picture that, but thicker.
Okay.
That's what's riveted to the brake shoes stock. Now, there is an upgrade, and I know everybody's waiting for me to say hydraulic. That is not the answer. I'm going to go against the grain here. Hydraulic brakes are not the answer in a Ford Model A. The actual answer is the modern cast iron brake drums with the bonded brake shoes. And of course, make sure everything else in the brake system is not worn out, and make sure the sliders are good. There's no divots in them, and all this, the typical maintenance stuff on brakes. But the cast iron drums with the bonded brake shoes, and Randy Gross, I think, is the guy out here that sells them. And there's a guy named Bob Grady who like turns the drums and arcs the shoes and all that. So you call like one of those guys, and you just get a set of shoes and drums, and make sure all your other parts, your backing plates, everything's in good shape. You put those on, and the Model A, there's a member of our club who still has a scar above his nose where I did a brake job on one of our other club members' pickup. He has a 30 pickup. Did a brake job. This other guy wanted to go for the test drive around the block after adjusting the brakes and everything. I said, okay, hang on. And I stomped on the brakes. That truck stopped so fast, he hit his head on the dash.
Wow.
The dash rail because that thing stopped on a dime and he bumped it and he still has a scar above his nose. I said, I told you to hold on. He says, I've never seen a Model A stop like that. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, our brakes have always been a weak point of our Model A, so I'm definitely going to take you up on that because they are not great.
Well, I'm planning a full brake video at some point, but it's going to be a really long, boring video where I'm just going to go over everything. But see, if you put hydraulics, all that really buys you is not having to adjust your brake rods. That's all that buys you. You still have to adjust the shoes. The shoes have to be arced properly. They got to be centered, all this other stuff. And people say, well, I put the flathead Ted floaters on there. It didn't help. Well, duh, because Model A brakes don't need floaters.
Right.
So if you do everything right, you have the bonded brake shoes and all that stuff, the brakes will stop as good as a modern car up to the point of sliding. Once you're sliding, what good does more braking do you?
Yeah.
The tires are locked up.
Yeah.
So if you can lock up the brakes, and really what we're talking about is how much pressure do I have to put on the brake pedal to get lock-up brakes?
Right.
That's really what we're talking about here. That's what it all boils down to. So all you're doing is reducing the amount of pressure you have to put on the brake pedal before the wheels will lock up solid on you. And with the modern type brakes, you can do that very easily.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about retrofitting modern tech? Because I went to a car show one time with the Model A, and I parked, actually some guy had a Model T, which was just really, really cool to see, especially here in Chicago. You don't really see stuff like that. And I parked next to him. We were like kind of chatting, and he was obviously an older guy. And I said, you know, we were thinking about switching from a generator to an alternator, which we actually ended up doing later. But I was like, we were thinking about switching to the alternator. He scoffed and literally walked away and would not talk to me anymore.
Well, what a stuck-up guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's your car. You can do what you want to it. Yeah, but anyway, as far as tech, I don't really call an alternator tech. And, you know, I've got alternators on a couple of my Model A's that I drive at night because I like seeing where I'm going. And
which we're definitely doing that LED upgrade, like the second it's pulled out of storage. We're going to clean the buckets and get better reflectors and do that LED light upgrade, because that video I immediately sent to my dad, and I'm like, you're paying for it or I'm paying for it, but it's going to happen.
Oh man, you would be shocked how much hate mail I got over that video.
Really?
Oh gosh. Well, somewhere, somebody who, now this is the thing, and I don't know, this is going to get into all this, you might want to edit this, Zach, but you know, the web forums. I mean, you're more into techie and computer stuff than I am.
Yeah.
The web forums, there's always like a few, and I'm doing air quotes again. You can't see air quotes. Experts.
Yeah.
Experts on the web forums. Whatever they say is gospel. And if you say anything different, then them and everybody who likes them will pile on you. Okay?
Right.
Apparently a forum expert at some point got a set of LED headlights. It must have been an early set or something. They couldn't focus them. And they wrote this thing about how the LED headlights are horrible because it just blinds other drivers. You can't focus them and all that. And apparently that became gospel. And this was apparently written many, many years ago. So I do the LED headlight video where I show people how to focus the headlights. Okay.
Yeah, no, I watched it, which was, it's a great video.
And you see, I mean, I'm not good at making videos, but you at least get to see what's going on and see how it works and how to focus them. Okay. And all that's good. And the tip about taking the lenses off to focus the Model A headlights, I guess a lot of people didn't know about that trick. So I got to share that. And so anyway, I did that video. I got email after email after email, and it's thread of emails where they got all these people on it, and everybody's hitting reply all, reply all, reply all.
Yeah.
And you know how wrong, oh, Paul Shinn, you idiot. You know, you're just blinding other people. You're, you know, being a menace on the road, and you're not, these don't, and I put on there, I said, did you miss the part where I focused the LED headlights? Because they do focus. Maybe you had a different set, you know, and so they sent this huge thing, a PDF file somebody had written and posted on the forums. They sent it to me, and I read the whole thing, and it had two pictures. One was a Model A with stock headlights shining down the road. The other was a Model A with LED headlights pointed at a bush and saying, well, see, they're not even close to the same. Well, point the same, you know, look at the same road with both sets of headlights. It looked like an opinion piece. And I wrote on there, I think this is someone's opinion. I mean, you might know more than I do. I'm not trying to say I'm an expert in any way, but I'm just saying it worked for me.
Right.
Here's the video where I showed how to focus, you know, and Oh my gosh, Zach, you would have thought that I killed somebody's puppy. I mean, it was on, right?
I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, but you know, and a couple of the guys in that thread were people that I still consider friends. I mean, but at some point, and I don't know if this is, you know, like I said, I've done radio for a zillion years. I'm new to YouTube and I'm just figuring it out. But it seems like the comment section, I think I know why Doug DeMuro does not go into the comment section or ever reply to comments. I think I know why.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't believe, I've gotten some just, I turned the notifications off on my phone because I'm like, I remember I was getting lunch with my girlfriend one day and I just looked at my phone and it was just this horrible, mean comment. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know why I'm just purposefully ruining my day by looking at this stuff.
Yeah. You know, my goal is to help people. And they say, you're only doing this to stroke your ego. And it's like, you don't even know me, dude. It's like, I have zero ego. You know, I'm not like Zach Brannigan. Why? My humility is the greatest of all the universe. I mean, you know, it's nothing like that. I'm a guy, I work and I'm making videos to try and help other people. And when I'm thinking of who's watching the video in my mind when I'm making it, I'm thinking of my club members. I'm picturing their faces and I'm talking to them. And it's like, so I'm inviting, you know, viewers watching the videos are essentially in my club, if you will. And I'm talking to you because you're club members, you're friends. That's how I approach it. I'm not doing this to stroke an ego, and I'm certainly not making $1 million on it. I'm not making a living on it, that's for sure. And, you know, I'm still looking for sponsorships, thinking, well, it'd be great if, you know, one of the Model A suppliers would, you know, send me parts and then we could do even more videos. Because I could
shout out to Mac Auto Parts.
Yeah, I could tell somebody who needs headlights on their car, hey, bring your Model A in. I'll give you a set of headlights because, you know, so-and-so is sponsoring it. And then I get to do a video on it. I would love to, but I'm just a guy with an iPhone on a tripod and I'm making videos to help my fellow club members. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I'm certainly not trying to change the world. And I'm certainly not going to set YouTube on fire. I mean, thank God that people watch the videos, so at least they're worth doing. And it's always a real kick to wake up every morning. Wow, there's 100 more subscribers than when I went to bed. You know, that's awesome. That's great. But that's not why I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah.
My whole purpose is to help people. And if it's helping people, I'll keep doing it. But if it stops helping people at some point, then you won't see me post anymore. That's kind of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing about, you know, this whole thing is like people are, yeah, I don't know, like people are just like, why, like, oh, you just want to do it? Yeah, just like to make yourself seem cool or something. I'm like, do you think I would post videos for 4 years, have literally 0 people watch them? Just no. Like, what was that helping? Like, why would I do this for so long if I really, like, if I had some poor, you know, thought process behind it? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. And I, you know, when I first started doing this, I had no idea anybody would ever watch it. I was just thinking, hey, this will be a great reference if somebody says, hey, how do I change the oil on a Model 8? Well, here's this video. There you go. You know?
Yeah.
That's it. And I mean, it's morphed a little bit from there because now I'm getting all these awesome suggestions. People want to know, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And it's like, oh, cool. Then I've probably got a year's worth of suggestions now that I get to pick through. Oh man, that looks more fun than that one. I'll do that one first. You know, that kind of thing.
Which is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that get on YouTube to be on YouTube. They're YouTubers.
Right.
And that's great. Good for them. And they've got, you know, there's so many supercar channels on there where you can watch somebody drive Lamborghinis. And I don't mean to pick on Lamborghinis, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%.
And that's great. It's so neat to see somebody rip around in a Lamborghini or, you know, put a bike rack on one and, you know, that's great. I love seeing that kind of stuff too. But at some point, I want to know how to do a brake job on that car and nobody's showing me. That's where I'm trying to fit that super niche, because not only am I doing the brake job, I'm the guy, here's how to do a brake job. I'm doing it on a car that was only made for 4 years, 90 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
How much more niche is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not seeing the Lamborghini brake jobs because you usually sell the car, because I think, at least with Porsche GT3 brakes, I recently learned the Porsche 911 GT3, it's about a $21,000 brake job if you need new brakes. So just sell the car at that point.
Goodness gracious. Well, I don't know, but see, my curiosity would make me want to do the brake job. I do the brake job, then sell the car.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, no, I totally understand that. And that's sort of where I came from, like with my car reviews, is that my biggest thing when I'm looking at a car is I want to know what engine and transmission is in it, like right off the bat. And so that's why at the beginning of my videos, literally the first 3 things I say is year, make, model, engine, transmission. So if someone's looking for a car and those aren't the correct 3 things, I don't waste 15 minutes of their life. I wasted 10 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but even that's not a waste.
Yeah. So that I understand where you're coming from with all of that stuff. And I think you've got the right idea about it. And because I subscribed to you probably a month ago at this point, and you've already gone up exponentially since then, which is so fun to see.
Oh, it's incredible. So, like I said in the beginning, I'm not on the hunt for subscribers. That wasn't it at all. But it's amazing. So what happens when you pass certain milestones, there's like let's say 10,000 subscribers or whatever, I passed that a while back. And all of a sudden, all these avenues open up. So now people are like contacting me saying, hey, we want to send you a, MP3 radio thing to put in your Model A and, stuff like, of course, I got to break the news to them. No, that's not really what my channel's about. Thanks anyway, and all this. But I'm hoping that turns into eventually the opportunity to make more videos on more Model A things that people are asking about through, I don't know, sponsorship or, just it's opening doors. I can see the doors beginning to open as the subscriber count increases, but it's not exactly the direction I want to go. I don't want to become a YouTuber. I'm not even trying to compete with anybody or, like I always say, people say, hey, I want to post a video about my Model A. Do you mind? Why would I mind? I'm not competing with you.
Yeah.
If anything, we're helping each other, so yeah, of course, post, you did a steering wheel restoration. Great. Post it. I'll link to it. You know? I'm not trying to compete with somebody. I'm not going to put someone else down to, no. So I look at it from a community perspective. The more information we can get out there, the better. Having a higher subscriber count means that more people are exposed to the videos. YouTube recommends them more or whatever. And that brings more people in because maybe they didn't know there was a Model A help community building on YouTube right now. So that's the way I look at it. So it all helps. And I don't care who gets the subs, be it you with your Model A or me with mine.
Right.
Doesn't matter. We just need to get the subs because then we get more exposure, more people find out, and then more people can find the help that they're wanting to find on YouTube easily.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Like, I've never really been after subscribers either, but the thing that is kind of annoying is that, like, companies, sponsorships, that's what they look at. Even those, like, subscribers in the YouTube algorithm in terms of payment, in terms of money and all that stuff, subscribers don't really matter. It's just something that someone looks at and they go, oh, 30,000 looks better than, 5,000. Which
right.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because, it's just not it doesn't really correlate is my point, I guess. So, like, I understand where you're coming from of, like, it's not about that, but it looks nicer. That's really the only benefit.
Well, I guess for the algorithm, it looks nicer. We're trying to please a computer, it seems like. So AI, please, don't take offense, AI. I'm just trying to, but yeah, so, I remember when I first started, like I said, that first video that blew up, the 4-door video, I had 600 subscribers at the time. And most of those people subscribed because they were watching the old radio equipment I was doing and stuff like that. All of a sudden, that video hits, and all of a sudden, the subscriber count, like I wake up in the morning and it's like over 1,000. The next morning, I wake up and it's 1,800. I'm like, whoa, I'm freaking out, right? Like, now the responsibility I feel, see, I took it the other way. I'm sure some of these YouTubers look at it, hey, all these people like me. I took it the opposite way. I have a responsibility to these people now.
Right, yeah. Now it actually matters.
Yes, I have to produce content they're expecting to see. That's how I took it totally the opposite way. I mean, it's not about me. It's about the cars. Because if the cars weren't on the channel, there's no way people would watch this garbage I put out. There's no way. It's all about the cars.
I actually had that same mentality of, like, when I first started dating my girlfriend, I was like, oh, I actually need a car that's going to start every morning because she has places to go now. Now I have a responsibility. Like, I can't just own this, 34-year-old Mazda that's temperamental anymore. I have to actually figure things out. So
no, your hoopty days are over, my friend.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll relive my hoopty days at some point, but yeah. But no, I totally get it, and that's awesome seeing that stuff blow up. And what I always tell people is I never really truly know when a video is going to like blow up in terms of views and stuff like that. That's why I want to drive everything under the sun. I'm genuinely interested in all cars, but it's just you never know what video is going to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's weird. I noticed that too, because I'll put something together. I think like the one I did comparing a Model T with a Model A, and I thought this thing's going to blow up. It's going to be amazing. Zilch.
Yeah, that's
Nothing.
a great idea. I would be super interested in that, but it's not what gets picked up.
Well, you've probably never seen the video because the algorithm didn't pick it up because nobody watches it.
I'll be honest, I will go watch it after this podcast, but I have not seen it. It's just, and the other thing is, you know, I drive about 5 cars a week in terms of reviews and stuff like that, and I post as much as possible, and I've driven a lot of modern cars, the brand new 2020 Toyota Supra, and I drove a Lamborghini Huracan last October. My top viewed video is a mid-2000s base model BMW. That's it.
Brilliant, right?
Like a video that I almost passed up on, but it was my friend's car and he wanted to see it on YouTube. So I was like, all right, sure. And literally it's one of my most viewed reviews, and there's no reason for it.
Okay, there might be though. Think about this. See, what you do with car reviews, what you do is very difficult. You have to take tactile feel, feedback, noise, and smells and everything. You have to turn that into words, and you have to paint a picture in the viewer's mind of what it's like to handle and drive and feel that car. Okay. So this all falls on you. And this isn't anything you don't know, but this is mainly for people listening, I guess, is your ability to take all these things that are happening that you're experiencing right now and make the person watching the video feel like they're doing it too. That's the difference. So that's a good car reviewer versus a bad car reviewer. And even in your own videos, you'll make one that's just stellar that you probably didn't even think about. You painted a picture in the viewer's mind. They felt like they were driving the car too. And then you do another one, and maybe you're so hyped over the experience you're getting, you know, I'm driving a freaking Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you're not spending as much time painting that picture in the viewer's mind. You just don't know. That's the weird part about YouTube.
Interesting. You know, I've never heard it phrased like that. That's really an interesting way of thinking about what I do. And I thank you for making it sound like my job is actually legitimate.
Well, see, aren't you glad you talked to an autistic engineer now?
Yeah, that's my big takeaway. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I've never thought about it of, you know, sort of, I have to almost convert senses into words. That's really, really interesting.
Yes, that's your job.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm genuinely blown away by that. I've never thought about it that way. I like that.
Geez. It's about time. Take your job serious, Zach. Come on.
Oh, how could I
had
ever
one
take
job,
this job
Zach,
serious?
one job.
I know. Hey, speaking of which, though, that shirt that you wear in a lot of your videos, I am the warranty. Did you make that shirt?
I've had several of them made, actually. In fact, I'm doing another one now that has a Model A in the background.
Because the first time I reviewed the Model A, which I recently took down because that review was terrible and I refilmed it, but I said in the video, I am the ECU, and people were like, oh, that should be a shirt. And I'm like, I always played with that idea, but I was like, oh, whatever. And then I saw your video and I'm like, that's essentially the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, maybe that was a good idea.
Well, it started out, my very first one I made was Ford Model A recalls equals 0, you know, but
Yeah.
nobody got it, you know, 'cause factory
okay.
recalls,
Yeah.
you know. See, it even took you a second.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah.
nobody got it. So I don't know. I was just kind of like, oh, this is a pretty neat idea. So I did that, and I had the first couple shirts made, and they were pretty bad. In fact, I had a hoodie made too. I forget if it was the hoodie or a shirt or whatever I wore in the first one. And so somebody responded, hey, that's a really cool shirt. Here's an outfit that sells them. And I was like, what? So apparently I'm not the first to come up with it. And then I was watching, what was it? One of the other, the guys, Tavares. I was watching, and he had a shirt that said, I am the warranty. I thought, well, I'm not original at all. You know, I'm reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
But yes, email me your address. I'll send you one.
All right. Yeah, sure.
And then email, don't say it on the podcast. Just email me what size. You can keep it to yourself.
But one last question for you is, I mean, this is just a super personal question for me, but sometimes when I'm driving the Model A, I'll get a little bit of shake in the steering column. I'll stop and it goes away.
Oh, yeah, death wobble.
Yes.
Okay, a few things can cause that. The number one cause is usually worn out steering box or misadjusted steering box.
Okay.
But here's a couple other things to check, though. Number one, the front end is, there's the wishbone that comes back, and then there's a ball right underneath where the clutch or the flywheel housing is. Okay, that in there, if there's play in that at all, there's a reason why there's those springs pushing against that in underneath the car under there. If that's loose at all, that will cause it. And then the other thing on the front end is front end alignment.
Okay.
And people say, well, what about the balls and, the tie rod and all that? You know what? That can be so worn out that you can move them by hand and still not have death wobble.
Really?
So, oh yeah. So check your front end alignment and check your kingpins. Make sure, so just jack the car up. Just put a jack under the middle of the front axle, jack the car up, and then go to the wheels, put one hand on top of the wheel, one hand on the bottom, and try to shake it back and forth. Not like side to side, but back and forth. And if there's more than, you should have at most play in your kingpins enough to where you can feel it moving a little bit, but not see it moving.
Right.
If you can actually see it rocking in and out, the top of the tire rocking in and out, then your kingpins are worn, and replace those. And so it's a very simple, it's death wobble, and it has lots of unsimple solutions.
So when that happens, I'll either come to a stop, it'll stop, and then when I start again, it doesn't happen again. Or if I turn left and right, like sort of like zigzag a little bit, then it goes away, if that helps sort of diagnose.
Yeah, that's not janky at all.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfectly safe. Yeah, so that's your description is what led me to believe death wobble was the problem, and all of those things I mentioned could be the cure.
Okay. All right. Well, you are my web MD for Model A issues from now on. You might get a couple phone calls with a couple swear words in it when I'm trying to figure something out.
Then I'll know it went poorly.
I guess that's a good indication. Well, I cannot thank you enough for spending the time with me. We're at an hour 40, which is awesome. Huge thank you. Where can people find you?
Well, on YouTube, I don't know what the long address is, but my name, Paul Shinn, Paulshinn, or you can go to www.paulshinn.us. That takes you right to the YouTube page, though. So paulshinn.us. Was the easy way to find me. And Zach, let me tell you what a pleasure it is to speak with you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate having you on, and I would not be surprised if we do another one of these, because I have just personally learned so much, and I hope that everyone listening learned a lot too. So thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, anywhere you can find podcasts, and I'll see you guys next episode. Thank you.